We're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank everyone for coming to tonight's info session. Pardon any mumbles or delays I have on this. This is my first time running this kind of session, so welcome. Thank you for attending. My name is Brad Miner, for those of you who do not know me. I am the new program manager here for Global and Experiential Education at the George Washington School of Business. Just as a note, this session is recorded, so if you guys have any friends who wanted to attend and weren't able to, please let them know that this will be live on our website tomorrow. We'll also be emailing it out through a listserv as well. So for tonight, we're going to run through our short-term faculty-led program offerings. We do have each of our faculty members here, as well as some former participants. Then I'll run over our short-term exchange program offerings, run through some scholarship information, the application process for what it takes to actually apply to one of our programs. I'll highlight our Business and Society series, and then we'll have time for final questions, Q&A. I would like to point out there is a class here at 7 p.m., so we do kind of have to vacate quickly, but there will be a reception from 7 to 8 just outside in the lobby where we're all waiting, so you guys can grab some food, ask your questions then one-on-one. So clearly, everyone here wants to study abroad or do some sort of international opportunity. That's really awesome. I'd like to highlight a few reasons why you should. And one is to gain exposure to new regions, countries, or sectors and different ways of doing business. The second is to access new topic areas of study that you may not have the opportunity to do here at George Washington. To enhance your skills, including cultural competency and awareness. To develop and expand your global network and advance your degree completion. Study abroad also looks really great on a resume, so I highly recommend that for that. Quick highlight, we do have the snapshot here of all of our program offerings for the winter and spring 2020. We'll go over all of these options tonight. And with that, I'll turn it right over to Professor Nam Pham, who will be leading our program in Taiwan.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi, my name is Nam Pham. I would like to organize a trip to Taiwan this winter. And anybody Taiwanese in here? Any Taiwanese? Oh. And anybody been Taiwan? Yeah. So it is a beautiful country in Southeast Asia. And it's like one of the tigers during the Asian growing countries. And what's interesting now is about the global policy changes and demographic changes. That's what I thought that Taiwan would be a wonderful country for us to go to study. And beside that, the food of the country is excellent. So we are going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully we do that. So I have two companies that we are going to do the project with. The first one is Daikiso in Taiwan. That is a manufacturing, one of the oldest and largest rotating industrial companies that's selling equipment to Taiwan, to China, to Africa, and they have local offices in that region. And the second company is Wilson Education Institute, that they offer 28 kindergartens and 14 after school and daycare. And they are completely different industries. One is manufacturing, one is education. What unique about the trip is, what are the commonality factors? One, they're both Taiwanese company that got changed because of the demographic changes and also policy changes. So that is something in common. Second, both of them are family-owned, both in 20-some, 30 years, and that is the demographic change of the family as well. So because they were older companies and now they need certain and very similar to each other. And lastly, but not least, Both of them have two sons, both came to GW, over here, and both were my students. So here you go, they're all connecting the dots. So what are we going to do? What we're going to do is, for the first company, the Taikiso, is we are going to help them with digital marketing. We are talking about the tool, how to go B2B, how to go B2C, and because this is the older companies and they didn't think about those new technologies, so we will step in to help them. And you will finalize the scope of work, the deliverables, and the projects with the company during the course of the time that we study. The second company is Wilson Education Institute. Also because there are two factors, demographic in Taiwan's change and the number of kids are declining. And if you are in elementary school and you have a declining kids to enter your school, that will be a problem. And second is the Taiwanese education policy change. So now the two factors are together and they are looking for growth strategy. So you will also come in to help to study the changes of the demographic, of the policies, and probably you would like to take some of the lessons learned from school system in the US or in Europe to help them to think about the growth strategy. And again, you're also working with the company to define the scope of work and the deliverables so that the concrete can be useful and applicable for the companies. So those are the two companies and two projects. We will have, the trip will be great. The country is beautiful, the weather is January, outside DC, you cannot ask more than that. So all those fancy things. Now, what is the catch? This is the rub. I am demanding my trip. I expect you to study a lot. It is not a trip just to have a good time. It is not. And I have my witnesses in here. Students who were with me before. You will have to study in here first. We have to work in here first. You will work with the company. You will have to work with them, and you have to, and on top of that, 12 hours difference. So we will expect there will be time that you work at nighttime, you talk over the phone at nighttime, and that is their morning. So that is one, I expect you to do study here. And second is, when we go on the trip, you have to work as well. It is not a vacation. So that's the reality. So I'd rather be upfront with you and tell you what you're up to. In exchange, you will learn a lot. And when we finish early, we will have a good time. No drama, no complaining, so that we can fly home nicely. And we may still share the flight home together. Is that good? So I think the application, 2 minutes. 1 minute, I'm leaving. So my boss will later cut me off. He promised he will cut me off. So that is about the trip. So I will be available after 7 o'clock. And Kinsey will be the teaching assistant in here. So if you have questions, ask us, and Sky volunteered to come in to talk with you about the trip. She went with me in just 0 minutes. All right, thank you guys.
Awesome, thanks, Nam. Next, I'm going to introduce Professor Reed Click, who will be leading our program to Rwanda.
Okay, well, following Nam's questioning, is anybody here Rwandan? Has anybody been to Rwanda? Okay, so I have several of my alumni from last year's program. So if you catch those hands, then you can ask questions. But I'll also point to Alexis Gall here. Raise your hand again. She's been to Rwanda many times. She's worked with me on these programs. for, I guess, at least 8 different trips. And so she's got quite a background, and we'll both be attending the reception after this info session. So first, let me actually introduce myself, and then I'll say some things about Rwanda, and then I'll conclude by saying some things about the nature of the project. What you see is that I'm going to be running the program on impact investments in Rwanda. And so, by way of background, I actually worked with the U.S. Agency for International Development in 7 African countries, including Rwanda, and including some projects on impact investing, although not exclusively on impact investing. And I participated in about 5 faculty development programs throughout sub-Saharan Africa as well. But I think of more direct interest to you, I've actually run 7 student study abroad courses since 2012. I've been to Rwanda 12 times. And so you may be interested in knowing why I like Rwanda. Clearly I wouldn't go there very often if I didn't like it. The destination for this is Kigali. It's a modern city in sub-Saharan Africa. It is a long journey to get there, but there is an airport, and if you do it correctly, you probably need to change planes once, but it's also 6 hours as time difference, so there could be some jet lag you may be worried about when you are planning your trip. It is in East Africa, but it is landlocked, and it is high enough in the mountains. It's actually a mile-high city, so it's a mile above sea level, but that actually offers you a fairly comfortable climate. It's a temperate climate year-round, with temperatures usually cool at night and maybe reaching 80 in the daytime. And the economy is mostly agricultural, so this is still a poor country. But because it's a poor country, also sort of fertile area for impact investing. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. Rwanda, you may know already, is famous for the genocide of 1994. And so that's recent history, but that's not the subject of this short-term abroad program. It was also famous for the gorilla trekking. So the mountain gorillas are actually best seen from Rwanda, although there are a couple of other countries. But I think beyond all of this, Rwanda is experiencing an economic transformation, and I think it's kind of cool to see it. Kigali is a modern enough city now, but it certainly wasn't when I first started going there about 10 years ago. And so I've seen the changes. You won't see the changes between the beginning of the week and the end of the week, but you'll see something that is partly representative of sub-Saharan Africa because it is a poor country, but also partly representative of what Africa could be in the future if it really decided to undertake institutional reforms. And so we'll have opportunities to talk about these institutional reforms. One that they're especially proud of is that the World Bank currently ranks Rwanda as the best place to do business on the African continent. And so then the question is, well, if that's the case, why is it still poor? Well, some of this takes a very long time. And as I mentioned, there are opportunities for investment. And with a high ranking in the World Bank doing business indicators, it actually suggests that it's a pretty reasonable place to consider putting your money. Some additional evidence, Rwanda has grown fairly quickly. It has experienced 5% growth over the past 15 years, when the world growth rate is 1.5%. But it takes a much longer time to actually see improvement in your relative standing. The year 2020 is actually a fairly important year. Rwanda had planned to be a middle-income country by 2020, and it's not going to make it. And so they're busy reconstructing the plans in order to become a middle-income country by about 2035 instead. And it may still be difficult, but at least they have a plan. You will be comfortable. There are good hotels in Kigali. It is also a very safe city. We will typically be traveling together from place to place, but at the same time, if you go out in pairs, it's easy to go to restaurants and places around Kigali. There are some health concerns. It is a malarial region, and so you'll need malaria prophylaxis. Entry requires a yellow fever shot and the yellow card, although that is rarely enforced. You should probably do that. And I'd say more generally, there is an adequate hospital that you should not be planning to use it. And so if you have some health concerns, you might actually want to investigate a little bit more whether there's enough of a health concern. So that's Rwanda, and the project is impact investing. And with impact investing, we have an impact investor based here in the United States. And the beauty of this is that we will work with the impact investor and then go to Rwanda working for the impact investor and then come back and report to the impact investor. So the sample syllabus indicates who all of these participants are. In country, we will be hosted by a Dutch NGO, non-governmental organization, and the projects are looking pretty definite to be in the rice processing industry. Now, that doesn't mean you need to know anything about rice, but at the same time, the idea behind this is evaluating a rice processor in order to see if they are ready for an impact investment. And so, time's up. But I have an ability to answer questions at the reception after this, as does Alexis and some of the alumni.
Thank you, Dr. Craig. And now I'd like to introduce Professor Mark Hyman, who will be teaching our Arizona course. Okay, gotcha.
Looking down here at my notes, and my first note is just the word bashful. And I jotted that down because this may be the easiest course to sell in the history of this program. Spend spring break at baseball spring training in Arizona. It's a challenging course. I think it's a course that students with an interest in the business of sports and beyond will enjoy, but it's also a great place to be that time of year. I'm going to begin by telling you a little bit about my background, which I think is important to inform your thinking about this course. I was a sports journalist for many years. I covered baseball as a newspaper reporter for 12 years before coming to GW. I covered the business of sports for Business Week magazine. And in the course of that previous life, I was fortunate to meet many of the people that we're going to be visiting in Arizona in March. And they range from the owners of Major League Baseball franchises all the way down to people working in the dugout as players and field managers and so forth. So it's familiar territory for me. In addition, I've led, I think this is the 5th course I've led for G and EE. Spring training is an amazing laboratory to study the business of baseball. In Arizona, there are 15 Major League Baseball teams training in a roughly 40-mile radius. So there's this incredible wealth of baseball knowledge and intelligence in the greater Phoenix area at that time. In this course, we have identified 4 or 5 large issues related to baseball, but they're really business issues that students will really be drilling down on through the course of the semester. And they range from the impact of legalized sports betting on baseball, the aging demographic that Major League Baseball is grappling with sports facilities as a tool for economic development. This is really a central issue that we'll be looking at. The communities where Major League Baseball teams train in Arizona spend tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars to build these elaborate, palaces for spring training. There typically is one tenant for that facility. It's occupied for 8 weeks in February and March, and is underutilized the rest of the year. So we're going to be looking at the investment and the return on those facilities and speaking to advocates for continued construction of them and opponents, speaking to elected officials as well as to baseball officials. And then finally, we'll be talking quite a bit about analytics, the impact that analytics have had on Major League Baseball, both as a tool for revenue generation and player evaluation. It's had really a profound effect. And the meetings that will be scheduled in Arizona will support these topics. So with respect to the course and the coursework, students will begin researching one of the topics that I've mentioned while we're on campus in January and February. They'll really drill down on one of these areas. And then when we get to Arizona, the meetings that are scheduled at the 4 or 5 Major League spring training sites that we visit will support those topics. So not only will students have the opportunity to research them from a distance here in DC, but also meet the actual people who are making these decisions when we are in Arizona. With respect to the work and the expectations in the course, we're going to see a few baseball games, which will be fun. But the work is substantial. There is a lot of reading in this course. If you're not prepared to do a lot of reading over spring break, this is probably not the course for you. There will be a substantial amount of writing in the course. And as I say to students who take my courses, you have the great misfortune of having a professor who cares a great deal about writing. So your papers will be, the work product that you produce will be of the highest quality, and I will insist on a high quality of writing. And then also very important to me is that students who are in this course are engaged when we are in Arizona in every meeting. It's adds so much to the course to have people around the table who are prepared and engage our guests at every meeting. And when students sit back and are not really participating actively, that diminishes the experience for everyone. So this is one of my first instructions to students is, if you're interested in this course, demonstrate that by being really engaged every time we're in a meeting, both in DC and Arizona. So I think this is a great way to spend spring break. It's a lot of work, but if you're a baseball fan, if you're a sports fan and curious about kind of the business of sports and want to peek behind the curtain, I think this is a course you should consider. Thank you very much.
And next we have Professor Mary Granger, who is not here, unfortunately, but we do have the program Spain Innovation Technology in Barcelona. We have 3 former participants from last year, Bill, Leisha, and Annalise, who will talk about the program this year.
Thanks, Brett. I'm Lisa, this is Bill, this is Annalise, and we all went on the program last year with Mary Granger. So if you have any questions, I know Bill and I are heading to class right after this, but I think Annalise is sticking around. So please ask Annalise any questions afterwards. So why would you do this program and what are we looking to learn? So this program is really focused on technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And it's in Barcelona, which I feel like, yeah, spring training, half in Arizona sounds great, but Barcelona during spring break, my goodness, you guys have no idea how fantastic it is. So why Barcelona? Barcelona is actually a really unique place in Europe where you're seeing a lot of startups and entrepreneurship happening in the city. It's kind of like a mini Silicon Valley in Europe. And so the way that we learn about creativity, innovation, and technology on this program is really threefold. The first is we partner with STAP, which is one of the top business schools in Europe and is based out of Barcelona. STAP and their professors help us to understand what makes Barcelona unique in Europe for entrepreneurship and innovation. They also help us understand what they're doing to help their students prepare for the workforce of the future and kind of thinking through how do we apply that here and in our own career progression. The second is we meet with a number of startup companies and companies that are doing really innovative things in Barcelona. We get to sit down with their CEOs or their founding partners to understand how did they begin their company, what was the idea of their company, and we really just get to pick apart their brains. So if you're looking at starting your own company, like this is a great program for you because you get to ask people all of the hard questions like how did you get funding, how did you pick the people you partnered with to start up your company, like all of those things you get one-on-one discussions with these founding partners. And then finally, the last part of how do we learn about this is we actually do a project over the course of the week of the program that helps us apply what we're learning in entrepreneurship and innovation. With that said, you guys can see the on-campus dates and what dates I'm not going, but you'll be in Barcelona. The on-campus dates is really just to help us prepare for the discussions with the companies that we'll be doing in Barcelona and really understanding Barcelona as a whole so that when we get to these meetings, we ask intelligent questions. We don't ask, kind of basic questions about what the company does and things like that. So it really just helps us prepare. I'm now going to pass it over to Annalise and Bill to kind of talk through their experience and why you should make this program.
You should pick this program because it's a ton of fun. There is work to be done, but there's also a lot of time to just experience the city. We had, a tour of Barcelona from a history professor at STAP. So, he was telling us everything about the old city, the new city, the architecture, Gaudi. He showed us the best churreria in Barcelona, which was actually very good. You need to try the churros and chocolate. But also, the interesting thing about this program is that both the STAP and the Spanish government spend a lot of money on helping small businesses start up with innovative technology. And so there was, maker spaces and buildings where they incubated these innovative companies that are web-based, that are business-to-business, and it's a great introduction to those places while at the same time being just a really fun place to go and an amazing city to stay.
I'd say my favorite part of the program and why I'd recommend everyone to consider the program is the amount of independence and the amount of self-autonomy you have on this program. You can just stick to what the program offers with Professor Granger, and because of her expansive knowledge, you'll have a great time, you'll have a fulfilling time. But you, outside of the classroom and outside of the site visits, have plenty of time to explore Barcelona on your own. You can do as much or as little as you like. You can go and get together with your classmates every night. You can do all the research you want on the companies that you need to your heart's content and reach out to those companies and form great relationships with them. Or you can kind of take it easy. You're responsible for booking your own accommodations and booking that schedule and writing to the extent that you'd like. So it's hard not to enjoy Barcelona, like Lisa and Bill mentioned. It's a great, flourishing city, very, very vibrant. I would say everyone felt right at home and felt safe outside by themselves during this very independent process. And the only recommendation I would say is beware of pickpockets. That's everywhere in Barcelona, or everywhere in international travel. There are places like La Rambla and La Boqueria where you might want to be a little bit more vigilant than normal, but Barcelona is a great city and it's an interesting place for us as business school students to visit because we have that, preconceived notion about what Barcelona is, but to know what sort of change it's making on the startup ecosystem is really cool. So, like they mentioned, I'll be at the reception afterwards to answer any questions, and I hope you consider it. It's a great program, and Professor Granger is amazing. So.
Two other things I want to mention. One is that STAP teaches a lot of its classes in English. All of the professors that we spoke with spoke English with us. All of the businesses that we went to spoke English. You don't need to be able to speak Spanish or Catalan to get everything out of this program. And one of the companies that is a very innovative company that we met with is the Barcelona Football Club. And we got a tour of the stadium. And if you're at all interested in Barcelona football, or if you have friends who are, that will be super jealous when you get back, that's a consideration.
Thank you, guys. So moving forward, I'm going to talk about our short-term exchange programs. We're running a little bit behind, so I will go through these relatively quickly. So real quick, just for everyone in the room, our short-term exchange programs, they are immersive experiences with our partner universities. We do have 21 universities around the globe, and this year we're offering 5 short-term exchange programs during the winter and spring terms. I do like to point out that these are restricted to George Washington School of Business graduate students only. So if anyone here is from a different school, these will not apply to you. Our first one that's offered in over the winter break is France. It is at the Grenoble School of Management, and the class is Technology Management in European Business Environment. As I mentioned, this is open to George Washington School of Business graduate students only. I do like to point out that this is a partnership with Duke Business School as well as UNC's Hennon Flagler Business School, and we only have 8 spots currently available. And so if we don't fill all 8 of ours, our other 2 partner university schools will be able to fill those spots as well. And so we do want to represent George Washington, so we do hope to fill all 8 of those spots. You do earn 3 academic credits, and I also want to point out that the course focus on this is on, let me get this right, serious games, and so students who participate this over the 1 week will earn a certificate in serious games. The next one, short-term exchange programs that I'm going to talk about are over the academic spring break. The next one is at Audencia Business School in France, and this is on global responsibility in European context. This is essentially studying corporate social responsibility in France, and then with a scale and an eye at looking at Europe as a whole. The program itself is 3 credits. This is over the George Washington academic spring break. There are really cool business site visits on this program. Last year's group went to Coca-Cola, and there's also a lens with government policy, so they're looking at corporate social responsibility with a government lens as well as business on this type of program. The next program is in Mexico. This is at Apate Business School. Mexico as an emerging market. I do want to point out that this is restricted to only online students, as it does not fall on the academic spring break here at George Washington, so the dates are actually 1 week earlier. Apate is a really cool business partner, and they have a large alumni network, and so their alumni work in a lot of multinational corporations who then come into this program and speak to the course. The course is also requirements of all first-year students at Apate Business School, and so the class is highly diverse, and you'll be taking courses with other Apate students as well as GW and business universities around the nation. Going across the pond a little bit, our next program is in Copenhagen, Denmark. This is studying sustainability in Scandinavia at Copenhagen Business School. There's actually 2 academic tracks. The first one, again, this is going to be restricted to online students particularly, as it does not take place over the George Washington's academic spring break. Sustainable business in the Nordics. This is 1.5 credits. The second course, which all George Washington students are eligible for, is over the academic spring break, and this is on regenerative sustainability. Clearly I'm struggling and can't say that word today. And those are the 5 programs that we have available. Real quick, I do want to highlight our scholarship information. We do try to make all of our programs accessible to students, and so I do want to point out that the eligibility for our scholarships through the Global and Experiential Education Office, you do have to be a current George Washington graduate student. You must be accepted on one of our short-term programs. You have to actually commit and pay your program deposit by the deadline that's been established. You currently cannot have received a previous scholarship from our office or received tuition benefits, meaning you're a George Washington employee. All of our scholarships are tuition eligible, and so they go directly towards the tuition on all of our programs. We offer 2 types of awards. We have a regular tuition scholarships. We have 5 scholarship awards available, each at $1,250. These are available for each term. Additionally, we have a blog scholarship. This is 1 award per term at $1,500. The requirements are relatively the same for each one. You have to submit photos, attend promotional events for us after you return from your program. And the blogging scholarship does have a blogging requirement that we prompt you on while you're abroad. So the final steps, if you're actually interested in one of our programs, all of our applications are online. They are on the GW Passport, and I'll provide a link to how to get to those momentarily. The deadline for all of our short-term study away programs is September 20th. I highly encourage you to apply to every program of interest. There is no capacity limit, so please apply to all of those. For the ones that are faculty-led, faculty will be reviewing their own particular applications towards those programs. For the short-term study away exchange programs, this will be reviewed by my office. All decisions will be shared with students and applicants by October 2nd. And then you'll need to place a $500 security deposit towards your place in the program within 5 days after that notification on October 2nd. The deposit does go towards the overall program cost, so it's not additional. In terms of registration, these courses are a little bit different. You will not register yourself. My office will actually register you for your particular program. I do like to point out that there is a program fee attached to each one of these programs, and this is to pay for additional things that our office will be booking on your behalf, such as lodging in country or any in-country transportation. What is really not included is going to be your airfare and your personal meals that may be outside of what's on the itinerary, which is located on each brochure's website, each program's website brochure. Additionally, if you have been accepted by October 2nd and you have committed, please do wait to book your airfare until you receive that from our office. Things could change, and so we want to make sure that communication is streamlined and you don't arrive outside of the actual program dates. So final steps, definitely if you are interested, please ensure that you have a passport, make sure it's actually valid and ready for travel. And then understand any personal travel requirements you may have for your own country. For any international students who want to participate on our programs, we highly encourage you to check in with the ISO office prior to actually traveling internationally. And if you have any communication that you would like with our office, please do stop in. You can email, talk to us by the phone. You can definitely talk to me by phone, Skype, or in person. We are always here to answer any questions you may have. And real quick, before I open it up to questions, I do want to plug our Business and Society series. These are domestic programs available to all George Washington students. The goal here is to take advantage of the actual location that George Washington University is placed in, and that is here in DC. These are short, intensive programs that occur in January over the winter's break. There's 1 to 2 online sessions that will occur in December for each program, and then there's a 4-day intensive period over the winter and spring break. These are a great option for our online students who would actually like to come here to George Washington and Washington, D.C. And there is no program fee because it's already included in your tuition expense. The only additional costs are going to be your travel expenses to DC if you're not from here, as well as meal costs. And I do want to point out that this is an open registration when classes become available for the spring semester, so they become available in November. This is a first-come, first-served basis. So if you're interested, please mark a note in your calendar on November when you can register for your classes. This year, we will have 2 business and society courses running over the winter break. The first one is Corporate Fraud and Corruption with Dr. Martin. You can see the program online session dates there, as well as the program meeting dates. The second is going to be Cryptocurrency with Professor Pierce. Again, if you're interested in either one of these topics, please do bookmark that for November to make sure you can online register. The program over spring break will be engaging through think tanks and business organizations. This will be over spring break. The online session is March 16th. The program actual dates here in DC are March 18th to the 21st. This is a great opportunity. The program itself does network with local organizations here in Washington, D.C., so you will be out and about expanding your global network here in Washington. And real quick, I do want to plug our long-term study away program. I did mention we do have 21 partners. This is if you would like to participate on a semester-long exchange. I won't spend too much time tonight on this. I would like to encourage anyone who's interested. We will have an information session this Thursday in Funger 520. We will go through a detailed orientation of all 21 partners and what's actually available at each one of those universities. And this will be from 5 to 6 p.m. Again, that's in Funger Hall 521. I do want to point out that if you are interested, there is an automatic scholarship available, and that is for $2,500 just for being accepted and going on one of these programs. So with that, we have about 10 minutes and open up for any questions that are general to the general audience. And if not, we can then gather to the reception. You can ask one-on-one questions with each of our faculty directors and our former participants. Yes, question?
For the short term, I guess one of them, do you have to stay with the accommodations that the school is looking for, or can you be pretty flexible where you're staying?
For any of the short-term faculty programs, Dr. Granger is the one in Barcelona, Spain. You would have the option to kind of find your own independent housing. For the other three, we're actually providing housing for you, included in the class. But then again, for the short-term exchange programs that are not the faculty-led ones, you would have the ability to find your own housing. So our partner institutions do sometimes offer housing deals. Otherwise, that would be independent on your own. Great question. Yes.
If anybody has questions on accommodations for Barcelona specifically, let me know, because I think all three of us did very different accommodations, and we have a lot of opinions on accommodations.
Anyone else have any general questions for the group? Awesome. Well, do any of you have any additional comments to add for your programs? Oh, cool. With that, I will close it and we can move to the reception just outside the hall.